On this week's episode, I am in search of the most perfect pair of pink socks. I absolutely love pink socks, and this week I just really felt like I want to knit just a really beautiful pair of pink socks. I've already got my perfect pink yarn that I found. I'll be showing that to you in a minute, and I've already got my pattern. I'm going to be using one of my oldest sock patterns. It's one I wrote 4 years ago. I really love this pattern. I'm excited to revisit it. It's going to be a fun week. Any week focused on pink socks is a good week. So all of that and more coming up. All right, before we can get into the knitting, I've got to say, today is a spicy weather day. In Oklahoma. We are currently under a moderate risk. The Storm Prediction Center has kind of a rating for like your level of risk for tornadoes or for just severe thunderstorms. And it starts at a 1, which is marginal, that's green. And then it goes all the way up to high, 5, which is purple. We are currently at a 4, moderate. And that just means that really widespread, strong, severe storms are very likely. Basically, the atmosphere today is like a loaded gun. It takes a lot of ingredients to be present for strong tornadoes to develop, and we have all of those ingredients today. Oklahoma is in kind of a unique geographical area. The reason why we get so many tornadoes is simply by virtue of where we exist on the map, right? We have Colorado to our west, and we get cool, dry air coming down into Oklahoma from the Rocky Mountains. Then we have warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico coming up. When those two meet, that creates instability in the atmosphere. We have what's called a dry line that forms, and the dry line is basically where that cool, dry mountain air meets the more warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. So that's one ingredient. There are many more. That happens a lot. We get thunderstorms. That's not an unusual occurrence. What creates an unusual weather day like today is when a lot of other ingredients are present that can create long track, violent, big tornadoes. And we have those ingredients today. So wind shear is one of them, and wind shear in the atmosphere, it creates volatility. And then we have something called the CAPE, and CAPE stands for Convective Available Energy Potential. And it basically is just a measurement of how much energy is in the atmosphere, and that energy helps fuel the development of storms. And so higher CAPE numbers mean that you have a lot of instability in the atmosphere, and today is a higher CAPE number day. There are just so many different ingredients, and today is one of those days that all the meteorologists are like, it is a loaded gun in the atmosphere. We have the potential for long track, large, violent tornadoes. Another thing that's really interesting about tornadoes and storms and how they develop is that you'll see on a radar map a line of storms moving through an area. When you have a long line of storms that is connected like that, it's harder for large, violent tornadoes to develop. However, when you get what are called supercells, those are independent, like they look like blobs on the radar. They're able to pull in all of that energy from around them and then grow and then develop and then rotate, and then you get large tornadoes from those supercell storms. So an individual supercell storm is typically more dangerous than when you have a long connected line of storms. You don't want supercells to develop because that's really where you can get into trouble. So I'm going to be filming and knitting today. What happens when the tornado sirens go off? So this is a frequent occurrence in spring. Typically our tornado season is March through the end of May, and then again in October. Those weather conditions are kind of right those times of the year. And the more violent, deadly storms tend to happen end of April and especially into May when you get more heat. And heat is definitely an ingredient that helps with volatility and creating strong, dangerous tornadoes. So that's why typically May is when we see the more violent, large supercell thunderstorms. And what's really great is they have these polygons on the radar map that kind of show where a storm is tracking. So you can see if it's headed to your house or whatever area that you're in. And you can be really aware if the sirens go off, you have to take shelter. Best way, underground for sure, especially with large violent tornadoes. You need to be underground to be safe. But the whole day is going to be a little bit stressful just because storms will start developing in the afternoon. So it's going to be a busy day weather-wise. But I'm still going to be knitting. I love to knit while watching severe weather coverage. So I'm going to talk about what I'm doing now. Now that we've had our fun little tornado talk, let's talk about the yarn. I told you I am on the hunt for that perfect pair of pink socks. I love pink. I am a connoisseur of pink yarns. I love to find those perfect pink shades that are a little bit warm. So this is a Coats & Co. Yarn Co. tonal, and I totally forgot the name of the pink, but whenever I edit this video, I'll make sure to put it in a little box at the bottom for you because I can't remember the name. But the pattern, of course, as I said, I'm going to be knitting is the second sock pattern I ever wrote, the Stillwater Socks. I'm really excited to see these socks knit up in a beautiful pink tonal. I think it's going to be really great. I actually started last night because I couldn't wait to get started and it was dark, so I couldn't film, but I've got a little bit to show you. That just means that I'm ready to show you. Here we go. I've just gotten a little bit done, but you can see that beautiful texture pattern, and then it's bracketed by mock cables on either side, and then there's no texture pattern on the back. So it's just plain stockinette knitting on the back of the sock, and then this beautiful texture on the front with the mock cables on the sides. And this pink is knitting up perfectly. I can already picture it with cute shoes. I'm not going to knit these super tall. I want them taller than this. My thinking was probably 4.5 or 5 inches tall on the leg. When I get to 4.5 inches, I'll try them on, see if I want to add another extra 1/2 inch. So they're not going to be like long slouchy socks. They're going to be more like dress socks, I guess, like trouser socks. But I'm super excited. So today, just working on my sock, keeping my eye on the weather in case things get super spicy. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, I have finished the leg of my sock. I initially thought that I wanted to knit it 4.5 to like 5 inches, but I'm at 3 inches and I think this is the perfect length kind of for the style of sock that I'm wanting to knit. So now I'm gonna get started on the heel flap. The original pattern calls for a heel, an eye of partridge heel, and I don't wanna do that. I don't like the eye of partridge heel. It was one of those things where I tried it out and I wanted to have different heel options in my patterns, but I don't know, I'm just not a fan of the eye of partridge. So I'm gonna modify this and do a traditional heel flap on this particular sock. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Keep watching my severe weather coverage. Tulsa's pretty quiet right now. Supposedly it's going to start heating up here in a little bit, so we'll see. Okay, so it is currently 10:40 p.m. I cannot go to bed. We currently have 11 active tornado warnings, tornadoes on the ground. It's all just to the west, but it's all moving towards the Tulsa area. So these are really dangerous storms that are producing large tornadoes at 10:40 at night. So I'm really tired. I really want to go to bed, but I can't go to bed when all of this is going on. So I've been knitting while keeping track of everything. Got my heel done. I don't know if this can focus. It's kind of dark in here because it's late at night, but the heel is done. I am now working on the gusset decreases. This is wild. There's so much happening right now. Like, the tornadic activity is insane for this late at night. So this is pretty crazy. And I'm just going to keep my eye on this and hope that as these storms get closer to Tulsa, they will weaken some. But yeah, 11 tornado warnings currently, tornadoes on the ground. I mean, they're just in a line, and they keep popping up. So this is a wild night. A wild night that includes knitting. Man, thank goodness for knitting. All right, it is day 2 of my quest to knit the perfect pink socks. It was a long night last night. Thankfully, the storms that moved into Tulsa were not tornadic. We just had a lot of wind, thunderstorms, lightning, rain, lots of torrential rain, but nothing tornadic. Today is all about knitting socks. We've got other stuff going on too. We're doing home renovation projects. My kids performing in a music festival. There's just a lot going on. We have friends coming over. Last night, I did get to the gusset decreases on this sock. It's looking really good. Really, really happy with it. So I'm going to zoom through and try to finish knitting the foot today. Maybe I'll even finish it. I don't know. There's a lot of other stuff that I've got to get done today and a lot of other activities going on. So I don't know that I'll finish it, but I think I can definitely finish it by tomorrow. All right, it's day 3. I did not finish my sock yesterday, of course, but I am going to finish it today. I have a lot to do. I've got to get all the way down the foot. I did finish the gusset decreases. I am on the foot, but yesterday was just kind of a busy day. We had a lot of errands to run, and then my kids' school has like this rock band program, and so they had a big like music festival at the school last night. My son was performing in a hot dog costume. I just love him. He's just such a quirky, interesting person, and the hot dog costume was amazing. So we had a lot of fun at the music festival, watching our kiddo perform and all the kids' bands. It's such a great music program. It was so much fun. I knit a little bit, but it was like really dark in there, and I was having a good time. So I didn't knit a lot. So this morning, I've got a lot of knitting to do. Loving how it's looking so far. This texture looks so good when like the fabric is stretched out on your foot. Oh, it's turning out so good. It's been 4 years since I've knit this pattern. I forgot how fun it is like to knit. So I'm just having a great time doing it. When I have a lot of knitting to get done, like in a specific time period, I like to do fun little challenges just to see like how much I can do. So I'm going to put a marker right here where I'm at, picking up this morning where I'm starting from, and I'm going to see like how many inches of knitting I can get done in 1 hour. It is 8:42 currently, so I'll start the clock at like 8:45 a.m. and then I will see how much knitting I can get done by 9:45 a.m. So I'm going to put my little marker in, start the clock, and then I'll come back and check in and let you know how many inches, if I got more than one. I'll let you know how much I knit. All right, my hour is up, and the question is, how much did I knit in 1 hour? And the answer is almost 2 inches, like so close. I was about 2 rounds away from working 2 inches in an hour. I ended up with 21 total rounds in my hour. And what I think is really funny is that, like, when you look at this, right, it looks like a lot. Like, there's my marker. And there's how much I knit. And like, just looking at that, I was like, oh man, I knit at least 3 inches. I was off a little bit. Have you noticed that in general, an inch seems like really teeny tiny, but when you're knitting, an inch like grows and becomes weirdly huge? Like you look at your knitting and you're like, oh man, I've knit like 5 inches. And in reality, you've knit like 2. It just seems like when you're knitting, inches become humongous, more so than any other aspect of life. So still, I'm pretty proud of this. Almost 2 inches is pretty good. And it just shows that when I really focus and I don't stop to Google stuff or get up and wander around aimlessly, I can make good progress. So I'm going to keep going. And if I keep this level of focus, there's no guarantee that that will happen. But if I keep this level of focus and keep working hard, I might be able to finish this sock by noon, by lunch. It is 9:47 at the moment. So I don't know. If I stay focused, I could do it. I'm going to try. All right, I've got sock 1 done. It looks really, really pretty. I've got a fun little surprise on the toe that I will show you when both socks are done. And I am currently working on sock number 2. Made a lot of progress. I'm almost done with the leg. It's another spicy weather day. This weather day is even spicier than the one that we had last week when I was working on the first sock. We're under the highest possible risk you can be for tornadic activity. The atmosphere is once again loaded, and once again, these tornadoes will be popping off as the sun goes down. Once the sun goes down, the surface temperatures will cool, and that will activate a low-level jet stream, which will create even more wind shear and just create an explosive atmosphere. So we have storms that have already formed on the dry line. We talked about what the dry line was. As they move towards the Oklahoma City metro area, they will encounter that really combustible air. So today is a purple day. I talked about the color coding. I think last week we were in the orange or the red, and this week we're in the purple. This is the highest risk. We haven't had a purple day in Oklahoma since 2019. As I work on my second sock, I will keep you updated with progress. And yeah, this is just like the tornado video, I guess. Pink socks and tornadoes. Okay, I am moving right along on my second sock. I have finished the heel, and I'm now working on the gusset. Weather still sucks. It's dark outside, so you can't really see the giant tornadoes that are apparently imminent. So I'm going to keep knitting. I'm going to keep watching the weather. Stuff could get really exciting here in a couple of hours. That's what's so scary about this, is that the favorable environment, the storms that are pushing through, it's going to be like 10, 11, midnight, maybe even 1 a.m. when this starts popping off and really happening. So it's much easier when this happens in the afternoon and you can see, and you know, it's just different when it's at night. It's a little scarier. It's very ominous outside. It's very warm, very humid. There's a lot of shear, a lot of wind. So here we go again. The first sock, you'll recall this happened. Oh, see, my phone was just popping off that the National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch for my area. And like I said, the Storm Prediction Center, which is part of the National Weather Service, has upgraded the risk to a purple. So this pair of socks, I am always going to remember, because when I knit this sock, it was on a spicy weather day. And now for the second sock, it is an even spicier weather day. So these are my tornado perfectly pink tornadic socks, I guess. I'm about to show you my finished pair of socks. Thankfully, we suffered no tornado damage. There were several towns in Oklahoma who did. The purple risk warning that we were in yesterday ended up, thankfully, not a lot happened. Apparently, there was too much dry air aloft in the atmosphere, and it really made it difficult for storms to really get going. We did have a big tornado that went through Barnsdall, Oklahoma, into Bartlesville, but other than that, things did not pan out as meteorologists had predicted, and that happens sometimes. They're working with the data, they're doing the best they can, and then sometimes there are other factors like the dry air that kind of make their predictions not come true. So thankfully that was the case. All right, so I've got my perfect pair of pink socks complete. I'm about to show you what they look like on my feet. They turned out so cute. I will always remember these socks as being my tornado socks because there was so much crazy weather going on while I knit them, but they turned out so beautiful. Once again, I used Coats & Co. fiber, a beautiful tonal pink for these socks, and I used my Stillwater Socks pattern, which I will have a link to that pattern in the description below this video. And right now it's 20% off. Just use code PINK at checkout and you can get the Stillwater Socks pattern for 20% off, and you can knit your own pair of glorious pink socks. That discount runs now through Monday, May 13th, 2024, midnight Central Standard Time. So get on that if you want to get the discount. And now let's look at how great these socks look on. I told you there was a surprise on the toe, and I cannot wait for you to see it. Okay, well, that's a wrap on this week. It's been wild, to say the least. I did have a ton of fun knitting these beautiful, beautiful Stillwater socks in this glorious pink with this beautiful yellow toe. I could not wait to show you this. I decided, I did want a full pair of pink socks, but I love having that pop of yellow on the toe. I think it's a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed watching me make these amazing pink socks and learning a little bit about how tornadoes work in the process. Once again, I used the Stillwater pattern for these socks, which you can find in the description below the video. It's 20% off with code PINK now through Monday, May 13th, 2024. You can also find links to all my other patterns on Ravelry. You can find links to my Instagram. I do share a lot on Instagram, and you can also sign up for my newsletter. I write a weekly or bi-weekly newsletter, has what books I'm reading. It just has a ton of stuff in it, a lot of great information, and of course, new pattern releases, all those things. So you can sign up for my newsletter if you want to stay in tune with what I'm making and doing and reading and watching. And of course, you can subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. And I always love reading your comments on my videos. You guys always have so many fun, interesting things to say, and I just really enjoy reading through them. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.